Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Betting Show, Week 11. I am joined, as always, by Adam, and you've become a bit more of a special guest these days, Skye, who's supposed to be a feature of this show, but he's too busy jetting around and interviewing all the players for us, doing a fantastic job, asking Mac Jones questions and things like that. So, and becoming social media sensation. Guys, we've already had one game in the books. We've had the Bengals and Ravens. I managed to record it and catch up on it this morning. Missed out by one on my bet for the game, which I was livid at. Adam, have you managed to catch up on it?
Yeah, sort of highlights. Everyone of any note got injured, didn't they? That was kind of what it was. So that was a shame. But yeah, best team won. That's all
Skye,
I've got.
Skye, shocked at the result that you thought. What's your thoughts on the Ravens Bengals?
I had the Ravens before the game. I think the Bengals were. I think I said on one of the other shows that out of them and the Chargers, I thought one of them might miss the playoffs. And the Bengals have obviously been a bit slow. They had a little bit of a resurgence, but with them now at 5-5, I think this was a tough loss. Doesn't seem like Joe Burrow's too badly injured, unless there's been an update I missed out on. Like he might be all right, but obviously Higgins didn't play, and they seem to really miss him. But the Ravens look good. But let's see how they cope without Andrews. But yeah, solid win for them considering he went down in the first quarter. I was impressed.
Yeah, I think Gareth was the only one of the six of us that picked the Bengals. So looking good for us in our little pool with the games. Let's move on to what we're all here for, the Week 11 fixtures. So let's bring them up and find out what games Adam thinks we should all be banging our money on in the spreads. So, Adam, where would you like to go to? Where would you like to convince me and Skye to put our money on first?
Well, firstly, I'm going to depress myself because I'm going to go for the LA Chargers against the Green Bay Packers game. The spread is at -3 for the LA Chargers being favourites away from home, and the over/under is at 44. I think the over/under is pretty accurate. I think it might go slightly over at 10 to 11, but the one that we're going for with the spread, I think -3 on the Chargers is the way forward in this game. Now, I know that the Chargers defensively are not the greatest, and it's quite a good matchup for the Green Bay Packers in theory, but I just feel like they're not going to get enough of they're not going to be able to score enough points overall, and it could become a bit of a shootout, which means I'd rather back that Chargers offense out of the two.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it's Skye, with lots of people doubting the Chargers defense. Obviously, what they rank like 31st as it is, very highly paid. Do you see the Packers taking advantage of the fact that bad, or do you think that this is the Chargers are going to stamp their authority on this one and Justin Herbert's going to get the job done quite comfortably?
Yeah, I really want to give the Packers like somewhat of a chance because, like we said, the defense leaks points, but they've only got 20 points 3 times this season in the 9 games they've played. I think the last time they got over 20 was in week 2 when they lost to the Falcons by a point. So I see the Chargers winning by at least 10, maybe something like, I don't know, 27-16 or something like that. But yeah, I think it could be one of those games, like Adam said, where maybe it seems like it's going to be shootout initially, but then the Packers just fall away a bit and then the Chargers get that double-digit win.
Yeah, fully agree. Love the -3 on this. Don't think it's going to come down to the field goal that we've seen of a lot of the Chargers games. I think they're going to have it done before that, and it's going to be more than 3. So happy at the -3 on that one. The next game up, I think we've had Adam's Green Bay Packers. Let's talk about Freddie's Pittsburgh Steelers against the Browns. The bookies look like they've got this one a pretty even matched game. Adam, do you think it's even matched, or have you got a clear winner here?
I feel like there is a clear winner in this one. For me, I like the Steelers at the +1. I just feel like, given the fact that Deshaun Watson has gone down now and is out for the season, help me out with the name. Dorian what?
Thompson Robinson.
Yeah. Okay.
You can call him DTR
He came
if you
in.
want.
Yeah. Okay. We'll call him DTR. He came in. He played a game and a half, I think, earlier in the season. Did not look great. I can't imagine that he's suddenly going to be a world beater during these last few weeks. So I'm not expecting too much from him. I think that the Steelers are actually a pretty solid defense against the run. They're tied 8th when it comes to giving up rushing touchdowns. So I think they'll be able to keep the Browns at bay a little bit. And although I'm not expecting the Steelers to go out and score loads of points, because that's not really something that they do, I just think they will score more than the Browns, just purely because the Browns' offense isn't really about much for this game. And to be honest, I think unfortunately for the Browns, they're going to have to rely very heavily on their defense for the rest of this season. Now that Watson has gone, because it feels like a big drop off compared to what Deshaun Watson was doing. So yeah, I think the Steelers at +1. I'm not expecting a particularly high scoring game, but I think because it is just +1, I think the Steelers are the way forward. If anything, I'd probably just go for the outright at even money.
Yeah, looks good. I'm quite happy with that as well. Skye, are you surprised that after the news of Deshaun Watson being out for this game, that the Steelers are +1 and not the favourites for this one? Do you think that the Browns' defense is that good that it can win this on its own?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised considering you know me. I think early in the season I talked quite badly about the Steelers, but obviously Mike Tomlin's in that Coach of the Year conversation, and he's done really well. So yeah, I thought they would have switched this around and had the Steelers as a slight favourites. I also agree with Adam that I think it's going to be low scoring, but I mean, obviously I know we talk about the spread, but I'm quite surprised that the over's that low considering that last time it was a 26-22 game. I feel it might be defensive, but I don't know. Sometimes when these defenses are that good, they can end up, I don't know, almost tiring each other out, and then you might get the odd explosive play. But yeah, I agree with what Adam said. I think the Steelers are the favourites, and I like them with that +1.
Yeah, I think, Adam, you've always said that when it comes to historical things within the NFL, you always tend to side with the betting. Tomlin as an underdog seems to do better than when he's the favourite, and he's the underdog in this one. So love the fact that it's a +1 for the Steelers. I really like the Steelers in this one as well. I think they've got a little bit going on offense with that dual threat running back and Deontay Johnson back, which I think is more because they're both incredible defenses, aren't they? So I think the Steelers might edge this one as well. So we've now had the Packers. We've had Freddie's Steelers. Should we move on to Garrett's Eagles? You know, I know it's a bit all over the shop, but do you want to talk about the game that I do not want to put any money near? Adam, you clearly want to put some money on it. So which one do you like?
I'm guessing that's just because you're a bit of a chicken. Because to be honest, this feels like this is a bit of a no-brainer for me. As great as the Eagles have been, the fact of the matter is we all know that they have a significant weakness on the defense. And that significant weakness is against the pass. That secondary has really struggled this season. And there's no reason to think that it's suddenly going to become amazing now. So based on that, given the fact they're away from home as well, I think the -2.5 on the Kansas City Chiefs is the way forward here at 5-6. They have got some great options there. You've got Kelsey there, obviously. Rashee Rice has clearly made himself the number 2 option for Patrick Mahomes. And I just feel that weakness on the defense is just enough, because when you look at the Chiefs defense, they are better all round than what the Eagles are. And so that's why I think that at -2.5, the Chiefs are definitely the one to get on.
You know what? I really thought you were going to go down the other side of this thing. I thought you were going to say Eagles, because I've thought Chiefs as soon as this came out. I was on Chiefs with this one. I was listening to a guy that, when it comes to betting, got a lot of time for, is Chad Millman. If anybody wants to Google him and have a little look, he said that all of the pros were all on the Eagles for this game. Skye, you've just agreed that you thought it was going to go Eagles. So I'm guessing you think that it's Chiefs as well. So it's the three of us all going Chiefs, despite the fact that the pros are saying the money's on Eagles.
I'm so conflicted on this game, honestly. I know Adam said about Kelsey and Mahomes, but they've only had Mahomes has only managed to get Kelsey 9 receptions in 2 games, 72 yards. So I guess that was almost primes this and set up for Kelsey to have a big game. But I just almost feel like I'm always the person who thinks that if a team's just lost to another team in the Super Bowl, yes, there's different personnel, but I think the Eagles will be fired up. It's a game where I see either team winning by 3. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, like a 24-21, or the defenses show up and it comes down to a field goal. But weirdly, I don't know why I think the Eagles will win. I think they just seem to be they're finding ways to win. They managed to do it against the Cowboys, and they probably should have lost that game. And I think that as much as I like this Chiefs defense, the offense has stuttered in their last 2 matchups. So I like the Eagles.
Yeah, another little fact for you on this one. Again, rooting back to that Adam likes historical things. The Andy Reid off of a bye week tends to always win the game. And when he's less than a -3 favorite, tends to cover it as well. So, it's pointing in the direction of the good money's on the -2 of the Chiefs. But are the Eagles more of a rounded team? Have they got better offense and a good defense over the Chiefs? Adam, I'm going to come back to you quickly for that one before we move on.
No.
But thanks. So swiftly moving on.
Did you want me to do more on it? I don't think that they are. I think that they're both incredibly good teams. It wouldn't surprise me if this was the Super Bowl at all. It really wouldn't, like it was last year. I just feel like, although the Eagles' offense has stuttered a bit this year. It's starting to get going, but it has stuttered a bit this year. The Chiefs' offense has started a bit, but the Chiefs' defense is better than the Eagles' defense at the moment. That's how it seems. So I think that's why. But like I say, that Eagles secondary is the big weakness. That's the problem.
Now we'll move on to the next game. I might be wrong here. I might have just been misreading it, but I feel like, hasn't Sean McVay got Pete Carroll's number when it comes to Rams playing the Seahawks? So we'll move on to that one. Adam, has he got his number, or is this the Seahawks to win here at -1?
So I've gone for the Seahawks -1. I think they're the better team. Personally, at the moment, I think that they are in a stronger position altogether. Both defenses are not fantastic. You can score on both of them, but I just feel like the Seahawks I feel like they win games that they shouldn't. They just seem to be sneaking them. I mean, they did struggle against the Commanders last week, yet they still managed to get over the line and win that game. And it's more of a gut feeling on this one rather than anything else. But I do just feel like the Seahawks are just that little bit better in this particular matchup.
I locked in the Seahawks for a win in this game, and that was when I thought that Matthew Stafford wasn't going to play. Skye, do you think that the news that Stafford is going to play indicating that he is healthy enough to play this one? And does that make a difference? And which team are you picking?
Yeah, I think Stafford just had a full practice, and for that reason, I'm going with the Rams. I think Adam was 100% on the money when he said about Seahawks win games they shouldn't, like when they beat the Lions. I feel like every time that you think they're not going to win, Geno and the offense show up, and I think a lot of people will be backing them to win, considering the Rams beat them in, was it week 1, 30-13, and that was, pretty big upset considering everyone was writing the Rams off. They're coming off of a bye. If Stafford is healthy, we know they've got obviously Kupp and Nakua, and I don't. As much as I want to say the Seahawks will win, I think the Rams. I can just see McVay pulling out a plan. He seems to know his divisional opposition better than probably most coaches. So, I like the Rams' chances.
Yeah, it's another really tough game. Like I say, the bookies obviously think it is a -1/+1. So, yeah, I think that Matthew Stafford thing makes me really look at it a bit more closely. But I had the Seahawks pegged all week until that was confirmed. Now, the last game we are going to talk about is the Vikings versus, if I can find it, the Vikings versus the Broncos. Vikings and the Josh Dobbs story versus the Broncos, and Peyton and Russell Wilson seem to have got it clicking. Adam, who have you got?
Yeah, so I have gone for the Denver Broncos at -2.5. I think that they have improved a hell of a lot over the last few weeks, especially defensively. That's one thing that I think people are not necessarily taking much notice of. I think people are going, Russell Wilson has sorted it out a little bit. He is playing a little bit better, and he is. But that's probably helping the defense a little bit because it's getting them off the field as much. But the defense definitely seems a lot better. So when you look at the stats, they look like a bad defense, but in the last couple of weeks they haven't been. They've been a pretty good one. So I do really like the look of the Broncos in this one. I don't think it'll be a particularly strong match, high scoring game, but I do think that because Justin Jefferson is looking like he's not going to play from what they're saying. I think when it comes to the Vikings at the moment, you have to stop TJ Hawkinson. I think that's the one you need to stop. And I think the Broncos have got enough talent on that defense to do that and pinpoint on him. And so I think it'll be harder for Dobbs to be able to do what he did last week against a team whose defense is a lot better. So that's why I'm going for the -2.5 on them.
Yeah, the Josh Dobbs story has been absolutely fantastic this season. It's been great to watch. Skye, do you think it is just a bit of a fairy tale and it's all going to come to an end, or do you think he's going to carry on that wave and beat the Broncos?
Yeah, I really applaud the way he's come in and obviously learned the playbook so quickly and playing without Jefferson. I think he's done well, but I think Mile High, as we know, is one of the hardest places to go in the league. And like Adam said, that defense has really stepped up. I don't think people are talking enough about how they've managed to limit Mahomes and Josh Allen in some of these wins. And yeah, I think, they've got the incentive now of, yes, they might be bottom in the division, but they can get back to 500 and sort of make a push going into the second half of the year. So I like Denver as much as I like the Vikings, and I think it will be probably more high scoring than people realize as well. Denver have got 24 in the last two, and Minnesota are putting up points, so probably be a one-score game, but I think the Broncos will edge it.
Yeah, we've gone against the pros on the Eagles-Chiefs game, but apparently all the pros are on the Broncos for this one. I think Adams hit the nail on the head when it comes to the fact that at the start of the season, the stats are skewed. And when you start diving deeper into it and seeing after the trade deadline, when they've made their moves and chose to keep a lot of people, that they've got it, they know what they are now and they've got it going. So, yeah, I find it hard not to back the Broncos with the injuries that the Vikings have. We will put all those decisions into a fivefold for you. We will post that out and let you know how that gets on probably on Monday or Tuesday. But let's look at some touchdown scorers. Skye, you've been looking through all of the games and picking us out some good winners. Where do you want to start?
Oh, so if we're sticking with the same 5 games, I mean, I kind of like the odds in the Seahawks-Rams game for certain players. You've got JSN at 11-4 and Charbonnet at 11-5. I can't say for 100% because I haven't checked, but I know in the 2 weeks prior, Charbonnet's outsnapped Kenneth Walker, and he seems to be getting a bigger role in this offense. So I think, those two odds for those two players are good. And then on the Rams as well, I mean, obviously with Witherspoon and the impact he's made on that Seahawks defense, you start looking at the second and third options on that Rams offense. And I think Tutu Atwell at 3-1 is also a good option.
Yeah, Adam, has Skye fallen into the trap that you fell into last week, where snap count for Charbonnet is up, but carry count is not up. He's not out carrying Kenneth Walker. Adam, was there anyone you really liked in this game?
In the Seahawks-Rams game, the Rams are tied 24th when it comes to giving up rushing touchdowns, so I can understand why you would go for Charbonnet at the price, but I think Walker at 10 to 11 is kind of a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest, on this one. When it comes to the others, Tyler Lockett was the only one who really sort of came out like I thought was a decent choice at 13. Is he 13 to 8? I think he is.
Yep, they're the same odds. Metcalf and Lockett, the same odds every single week.
Yeah,
every week.
But Metcalf has just really struggled this year, and just the ball's not going to him as much, especially in the end zone. So Lockett is the one that I kind of like the look of. There's not a lot in this matchup. I'm not particularly thrilled with anything on the Rams side, to be brutally honest. I think Kupp is obviously very short. Nakua has become very short now as well. And the rest of them don't really appeal to me. So, yeah, I think really Walker's the obvious one, but it's short, but it's the obvious one, and I think it'll probably happen.
Now, every season, Adam will know this because he's done this show with me long enough. I find a player on some team that I kind of like, and then when I watch their games, the ball just seems to go to them. I found one with the Seahawks, and every time I watch them, the ball seems to go to Jake Bobo in the red zone, and I'm like, wait, there's one of my bet. No, it's Jake Bobo again. He's in the end zone. Would either of you guys buy in at 4-1 that Jake Bobo might get it again?
I think it's possible. Well, I can see Adams obviously he's not biting straight away, but he's had catches in the last few weeks. I think it's dropped a little bit, but I remember looking at him on fantasy. I think it was like 2, 4, and 2. So there's obviously the odd matchup or the odd play where he seems to be getting open. Did he not have that insane catch that was on Red Zone a couple of weeks ago? Like the absolute ridiculous one. Yeah, just for that alone, you should be betting on him. You know, he's got talent.
Have I lost the plot again? Or is this the same as when I called Trenton Irwin at the Bengals and when I Ben Skronik at the Rams? Is he another one that I've managed to call?
I mean, he could possibly get in, but I mean, like, who's backing it? I mean, you're just it's a complete guess.
I reckon you could bang it in a double with someone else, and you're getting some good odds. And it only needs to come in, put him in with someone that's really strong favourite. The odds will be good. Skye, what are the games? What are the players? Who have you seen that you like?
You've set me up well to say if you were going to put him with a favourite, because I agree 100% with something you said earlier in the Steelers and Browns game. Deontay Johnson, who obviously just seems to be, I know he struggled last week, but since he's come back from injury, there's a clear plan that when the Steelers are playing well and are deciding not to go with the running backs, that he's the passing option. He's 3-1, Deontay, from, if I'm hoping it hasn't changed.
It's not.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that's a good price. You've also got, I know Najee Harris has been playing better, but I think Warren at 11-4 is also good. And then on the flip side with the Browns, when a new quarterback comes in, I think anyone in their right mind starts to look at the tight end on the team, right? It doesn't matter if it's one of the best tight ends in the league or just a standard guy. It's always the safe option. And Njoku's 4-1. So I like that too. And then also if you want to, see that DTR is going to go dive into that preseason magic, he's 9-2. So I think there's a lot of options for players in this game.
Yeah, it's just the fact that both the defenses are so good. You've really got to pick the right guy in this one. Adam, are you shocked to see Deontay Johnson at 3-1 because he has got it going? I know last season we said the targets went to him, the catches he caught, he just didn't get in the end zone. We have seen him get in the end zone this season. So do you think that 3-1 that's good money?
Not really. I think although a lot of targets go his way, he's had one touchdown in a season and a half. So that's a bit concerning. I think the problem is as we've stated before, Kenny Pickett is not the best quarterback out there. You're going up against one of the best defenses out there. I think it's going to be tough for him to do anything in this particular one. The Browns are tied third when they give up passing touchdowns. They're a bit weaker against the run. I'm not a particularly big fan of Najee Harris. I don't think he's that great at that price, but I really like Jaylen Warren at 11-4 because I think he's a bit of a difference maker for them, and I think that's the one that you want to be looking at throughout the whole thing. But yeah, I'd probably be steering clear of Deontay Johnson this week.
Now, there's a lot of chat, if you follow fantasy, of whether Pat Frymouth is going to become fantasy relevant now he's back. Me and Adam both bigged him up at the end of last year of being maybe that next generation of tight end that can get in. At 10-3, do you like his odds this week, or do you want to see him back in action fully before you put your money on him?
Again, I'd say just because you're going up against the Browns, it's a really tough matchup, so I'd probably wait.
Skye, what game are we going to next? Who else do you really like?
So with the Chargers and Packers, I feel like I've gone very outside the box here, but Everett is injured, and I'm very sure that Donald Parham only got upgraded to limited. So we're going to go back in time to Nick Vannett, if my memory serves me right, a former Seahawk and Bronco at 13-2. Obviously, keep an eye on what happens with the tight ends there.
Does Bet365 scroll down that far?
Well, I've managed to. I'm looking at the names around him as well and going, really?
If Sunday comes and both of those other tight ends are out, then I think if you were throwing him into a double, like you said before, with someone who you were sure on, that wouldn't be the worst. But outside of that, there wasn't really anyone standing out on me from either team. I mean, probably Adam might agree with Wicks. I mean, we both talked him up, but I don't know about a touchdown. But he is a good player, and while Christian Watson is struggling, I think you could look at maybe some other options on the Packers receivers. But I think that's more of a case of I like his talent than actually saying he'll score a touchdown.
I scroll through these, and I'll jump in there before Adam says Wicks, because I know he's obsessed with Wicks. We see the Chargers get beat a lot over the top and in the secondary. Are you shocked that Romeo Doubs is 21-10? He seems to be the guy over Christian Watson when the ball's been going down there. Is that the one that you've got your eye on, or are you sticking with Wicks?
No, I think as much as I like Wicks, I think he could be something special actually in the future. I really do. The coaching staff just are not putting him out there enough, and that's the problem with him. So he's not going to have the opportunities. Really like Romeo Doubs in this one at a decent price. 21-10, I think is really good for him. There is someone else on the Packers side, bigger price, got his opening first touchdown this season just a couple of weeks ago. Luke Musgrave. The Chargers are not great against tight end. 10-3 is a really good price for Musgrave. And the important thing that everyone needs to remember about Musgrave is he hasn't been as good as Laporta or Kincaid, but he is seeing the same amount of snaps and the same amount of time on the field as these guys. And he is slowly starting to get used more and more by Jordan Love. I think that in a good matchup, Musgrave has got a very good chance at that price.
Yeah, I might have a little side bet with Skye if both those tight ends don't play, whether Stone Smart, the tight end from Old Dominion, will outcatch Nick Vannett.
I like that.
The odds are 5-1 on Stone Smart. So it could be an interesting little side hustle we have between the two of us. Yeah, there seems to be some good odds in this one, considering all three of us think that this could be at half-time a bit of a shootout. The odds are quite high on a lot of the wide receivers in there. Quentin Johnson as well. We were all really disappointed in what he's done at the start of the season. He's got his chance. He hasn't taken it. But I've heard a lot from the coaches saying that the system that they run at the Chargers is so much different to TCU that he's finding the transition hard. but they said that the last 2 weeks they feel like he's starting to pick it up and get used to the new system that's there. Do we think at 2-1, Skye, that you'd hearing that you'd lean towards Johnson in this one?
When I put bias aside, yes, it's because I dropped him from my fantasy team last week after 10 weeks finally, and he finally got his touchdown. Yeah, I think it's he seems to have a role now, and they needed that, right, with Mike Williams being injured. So it's nice to see that he's making an impact, and I think whilst you can get him at 2-1, it's definitely worth looking at. Even for receptions as well, any sort of bet builder, if he's getting more involved in the offense, I like that.
Yeah. Before we move on to our trebles, Adam, is there any more little gems that you found when you were taking a look at the games?
Yeah, so just moving away from the games we've already spoken about, I like to look at Tank Dell at 11-8 for the Houston Texans against the Cardinals. That's a favourable matchup for Tank Dell. And although Nico Collins might be coming back for this game, it feels like Dell is the one that CJ Stroud goes to a lot. So I do like him at 11-8. Someone a little bit bigger, Sam Laporta, always does well at home. 15-8 against the Bears, who, although the Bears, you got to be a bit careful with the Bears because a little bit like the Broncos, they have improved defensively in the last couple of weeks. But even still, I think that Laporta's got a good shout at a decent price at 15-8. Brian Robinson against your Giants, Andrew, at 6-5. I think Robinson, he scored against you earlier in the season. Struggle against the run, got no real offense. It's not really going very well for you lot at the moment, is it? So I think that Robinson is good at 6-5. Dalton Kincaid, 2-1 against the Jets, I think is a very good price for Kincaid. So yeah, there are a few other guys out there, but they're kind of the main ones at slightly decent, bigger prices.
Yeah, a couple in there that I'd circled and had on. Now, before we move to our trebles, I was supposed to bring this up earlier and I missed out. But last week, Adam, I said to you that I was for sure that the Cowboys would destroy the Giants and be well up at halftime and cover that big spread. I picked another one out this week that I really, really liked. I think the Dolphins are going to hammer the Raiders and beat that 13.5. Do both of you guys agree with that, or are you thinking I'm crazy?
So Adam's going to go first. Oh, I'll go. I think it's more than possible. I think you guys heard me say this a lot about the Dolphins. They are probably the most capable team in the league if they can get things going early in the first quarter, blowing any team out. And yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know how the Raiders are 5-5. I think it's one of those things. Obviously, new coaches come in and given them an immediate spark, but that always happens. So, yeah, Dolphins are 4-0 at home as well, I think, this season. So it's set up for if there's anyone to be a blowout this week. Yeah, I'd agree.
Adam, are you buying into me this week? Last week, you didn't like me saying that the Cowboys were going to blow out the Giants. Are you buying in this week?
No, I kind of agree. I think the Dolphins probably will win this and win this comfortably. As you know, I really don't like the whole massive point difference. 13.5 is tough. I mean, it's basically 2 touchdowns, isn't it? It's quite a lot. Yes, the Dolphins should cover it. They should, but I won't be putting money on it.
I probably will. Right, let's go on to our trebles. Let's take that away there. Skye, we'll come to you first because we've not had you on the show for every single week. So hit us up so we can slag off your treble.
Well, this is the thing because the first 2 players I'm very sure on, but the third, the odds have dictated my my thought process. So I'll go through it all. Dalton Kincaid 2-1, couldn't ignore that one. I think until Dawson Knox is back, and even when he's back, he's just taken the opportunity and ran with it. CeeDee Lamb at evens, I like that for sure. and then we come on to the first. So many options for players. So the smart one that I would say, because obviously we want people to win money, is if Collins is out, then I would throw Tank Dell in to the treble for that. It comes in at 13-1. But the player who I got caught up with when I was choosing was the Dorian Thompson-Robinson, because if you take Dell out for him, it's 32-1.
Skye, put that in a bet with Jake Bobo. You'll be quitting, mate.
But the smart treble I will stick with for the viewers is Lamb, Dell, and Kincaid.
Now, that's a mixture of the evening games and the late games. Adam, I'm sure you've got me one of each. So, Adam, what's your early game treble?
So my early game is not actually too far off of Skye's a little bit. Tank Dow at 11-8. I think, as I said before, I think he's just a very good option for the Texans in a favourable matchup. CD Lamb against the Panthers. I just think that they will do similar to what they did against the Giants, and that Lamb will have a good game. And then finally, Luke Musgrave for the Packers. Just think he's going to be one of Jordan Love's main options in a favourable matchup as well. The three of them, 19.58-1.
Well, I now know which player is not scoring a touchdown this week, because all three of us have had the same guy in our bets. And the last time we did that was the only player that didn't get in. So I have also gone Tank Dell, but I have paired him up with DJ Moore at 2-1, who now Justin Fields is back.
Yeah,
when they're together, it's really, really good. And then I've topped that off with Keenan Allen. So DJ Moore, Tank Dell, Keenan Allen at just over 18-1. Feels like a bit of a no-brainer, but I now know Tank Dell's not getting in. So. Yeah. Adam, have you got an evening bet for us?
I have. It's a little bit smaller than the early game one. Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers going up against the Bucks. I think you can score quite easily on the Bucks. They've been struggling defensively, so I like him. Dalton Kincaid, as has been said, I just think it's a really favourable matchup for him. And then finally, Tyler Lockett, which, to be honest, of the three, I feel Lockett is a bit more of a punt, but I do feel like he's a decent option and seems to be the one that Geno Smith does find in the end zone out of all of them. So 17.9-1 that was.
Well, my odds for my evening game match the same odds as my early game, and I have ridden the hot hand in Rashad White. It's really tough with the evening games. There's only 3 games. Rashad White, I have also gone Dalton Kincaid, so there's another guy that's not going to the end zone. And I have topped that off with Kenneth Walker at just over 18-1 as well. So I was feeling really good about my 2 bets. I feel like I've got 6 players in those 2 trebles that I'm really confident about this week. I'm feeling good, which I need because it's not been going too well with the trebles. Skye, you got a crazy bet for us?
I do, and one of them involves a tight end treble. Are you ready?
Oh.
With the odds at 111.5-1. 2 players who I've spoke about already. Well, actually, all 3. Kincaid, and like we say, he's not going to score now. Kincaid and Joku and Nick Vanette. So if you take him out for your one, Andrew, if you take him out, that's the tight end treble special. And then in terms of the other stuff, well, this is where I always worry that, well, not worry, but we know Adam's already laughing. Yeah, so the one that I found on Skye Bet was Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Allen and Tua to have 300 plus passing yards each. It's 80-1. And I think that's quite good because in the last 3 weeks, I've got some stats here. Dak's had over 300 yards. Goff in his last 4 has had over 270. 2 of those games were over 300. I know people say Josh Allen struggled, but he had 236 in week 1 versus the Jets. And then also Tua has gone over 300 in 4 out of 9 games this season. So I think for that to be 80-1 is probably not one of the most craziest that you will find. So I think that's decent. And then The only other one that I'm waiting for the week it comes in, but it never will happen, is still at 1,000 to 1. Every team to score 15 points, and I've put a pound on it again.
Every team of all, or just the early games?
Sorry, from the 6 o'clock, 9:05, and the 9:25. So yeah, excluding Sunday night and Monday night football. Every team to score 15 points. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but for that price, if you've got a pound sitting there, a free bet, why not?
Not if Tommy DeVito's set quarterback for the Giants. I think
but
you've lost that straight away.
How many did you get last week? Was it 10?
What was the
Giants
score?
Get 10.
Are you asking how many we scored? Yes.
Yeah. 10, yeah.
Which is more.
Is he playing again this week?
I thought.
Who knows?
No, it was
Probably.
40. It says it was 49-17.
We don't want to be winning games.
You got 15. See?
No.
I mean,
it's annoying. It's annoying because that bet is tempting every time.
It's worth £1 for
one day.
Weeks.
It's gonna
I had £1.17 sitting there, so I thought, why not?
It's £18 a season to have it every week if you have a pound on it.
Yeah.
Bet responsibly.
But we never got Adam's thoughts on the over 300 for those four quarterbacks. No.
Well,
no, it's not going to happen.
Adam's just a straight up no. I was a no on it because Josh Allen was kind of. I actually think that Bills will destroy the Jets. I'm quite happy at that. Not sure why. I've just got a thing in my head. I'm like, I think Bills bounce back.
They're being questioned a lot. I know what you mean.
Because Zach Wilson, I just can't buy into him scoring. So I think Josh Allen will score. But yeah, that was the one I was worried about. I'm guessing, Adam, that's the same one you were worried about.
Yeah, he's not. You need these matchups to be high-scoring games in order for this to work. And going up against the Jets defense in a game where the over-under is under 40 does not make me think that 300 yards is coming.
Well, there might be loads of yards, and then they go for on fourth down a lot, don't score.
No.
I think the reason I liked it is because I think that sort of bet, when you have four well-known quarterbacks, would probably be around 33 to 1. So I was quite surprised it was 80.
Yeah, I think all the other games you picked are high-scoring games, aren't they? They're games that we were saying are slight shootout games. So it's just that Josh Allen one that might not be. But it's well worth the money. Like you say, the odds are more than you've seen on that recently. So probably worth a little dabble on. Well, that's all we've got time for, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for bringing all the odds to the table. Best of luck to all your teams. Keep it with the franchise tag.